Cypress Development Corp. is developing a world-class lithium resource in the heart of Clayton Valley, Nevada. The size of the resource makes the Clayton Valley project a premier asset with the potential to impact the future of lithium supply. Cypress Development Corp. trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol CYP, the OTCQB, symbol CYDVF, and on Frankfurt, symbol C1Z1. For more information, please visit our website, cypressdevelopmentcorp.com.
You're listening to HowStreet.com radio, available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. Welcome to HowStreet.com radio, the online source for market opinions. Here is Jim Goddard.
My guest is Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on maven.net/Mish Talk. Merry Christmas, Mish.
Well, Merry Christmas to you. Boy, Santa sure brought a present to all the bulls here. Stocks are soaring out of sight. We'll see what happens in 2020.
For people looking at technical stocks, are the so-called FANGs still going to be leaders in 2020?
It's really hard to say. This has gone on much further than I ever expected. A lot of what's propelling the indices higher is, in fact, a very narrow participation for a long time. But now even the defensive stocks have got in on the act. Everyone's rushing here. Trump just signed a big defense bill today, so those stocks are doing well. Boeing did well today, for the simple reason they fired a CEO. It's pretty amazing here. You almost could do no wrong. Bullish sentiment is in the most extreme levels that people have ever seen, and valuations are in absolute la-la land versus actual reported tax earnings. Quite amazing stuff. What a year.
With this kind of peak where it seems every week we're setting new equity market highs, people are always saying, how close are we to the precipice?
I don't know, and no one else does either. Certainly this has gone on not one, but many years longer than I expected. We can look at the Fed for that, negative interest rates and negative real interest rates. I don't believe the Fed realizes how big of a bubble that they've blown here. They don't see it. They didn't see the one in 2000. They didn't see the housing bubble in 2007 either. So on these liquidity moves, these stocks have just gone way further than I expected. At some point, I would have thought common sense would stick in, but it hasn't.
Mike, what was behind the hot market this year?
What was behind the pot market this year? Well, I mean, there's a lot of movement. There still is. I expect more movement here in the United States. Canada legalized it. Several states in the U.S. did, but nationally, no. So it's very hard to buy some of these pot stocks in the U.S., especially private placements are almost impossible. The brokerages don't want to touch them. But I suspect we're going to see some movement on the national front next year, and if they legalize this stuff across the board, it's still illegal at the federal level here in the U.S., even though some states have legalized it. So that makes it hard for some of the banks and brokerages to allow trading of some of these stocks. And so it depends. We've also seen a little bit of oversupply. Everyone rushing to get in on this and the next big thing. So we saw some stocks rise as much as 300% and give it all back. I think 2020 is going to be a good year, for the industry.
We'll have more with Mish Shedlock right after this.
Media recognition from Bloomberg, Reuters, recycling trade publications. Patented process for 100% recovery of critical metals, including cobalt, lithium, nickel, manganese, aluminum. American Manganese is focused on recycling lithium-ion batteries for electric vehicles. American Manganese trades on the TSX Venture, AMY, the US, AMYZF, and Frankfurt 2AM. For more information, visit AmericanManganeseInc.com or phone me, Larry Ray, at 778-574-4444.
Avon Resources Limited is a gold exploration company with significant projects in British Columbia and the Yukon, trading on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol ABN, and the OTCQB, symbol ABNAF. Surrounded by world-class gold deposits and mines, Avon's 23,000 hectares Forest Kerr Gold Project is located in the heart of the Golden Triangle in northwestern BC. For more information, visit us at avonresources.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mike Shedlock. Mish, with the Conservative Party in Britain winning one of their biggest majorities ever and Brexit more or less a sure deal now, what's that going to do for the British economy and for Europe?
Well, I think the global economy itself is slowing. The best thing, or the positive thing we can say about Brexit is we have a bit of certainty. I hear some people saying now, mainly the sore losers, that, Brexit's not a done deal yet, and then some people are fearful that Johnson's going to cave in. Well, he's not. And the reason why he's not, let's take a look at fishery policy alone. That was one of Nigel Farage's big fear points, was that Johnson would cave in and to get a deal, give away fishing rights. Well, he's not going to. And the reason why he won't is Scotland. This is one thing he has over Scotland. The SNP wants another referendum. They want to leave the UK, yet they want their own fishing rights. So Johnson, for that reason alone, I don't think he would do it anyway, but for that reason alone, it's guaranteed that he's not going to give in on fishing rights. And the other thing is, everyone's talking about how it's going to take years to negotiate a deal. Okay, yeah, maybe it does. But bulk of the deal can be done in a year. And the reason why that's true is the UK already has a deal with the EU on everything. It's still in the EU until it isn't, and that will be at the end of 2020. Actually, they've got a starting point to work from, as opposed to say someone like Canada, where it took them years to hammer out a deal. But even if it does take years to hammer out a deal, the WTO allows for a transition period as long as 10 years. So they can come up with some sort of basic agreement that covers most things, and they can finish tying all the individual knots over the next 10 years. And, maybe it does take that long. But Brexit, in the meantime, is going to happen, and we're going to move off of this issue. Now, what does it mean for the pound, the British pound? It might be a little bit of a sell the news. It already has been, and I posted on that, ahead of time. So, and part of that actually is these fears that, what's next? We're still not going to have these deals. Well, in about a year from now, we're going to look and we're going to see how easy this all was, because that's what I said on my blog. This process is a lot easier than most people think.
Of course, everybody has this attitude, well, if this goes through, we have to tear up everything and start from zero. That's not how trade agreements are done. And even if you tore up this agreement, the old one goes into effect. The rules are always there in some form.
A basic WTO agreement isn't much, but the key point is they can agree to some sort of low tariff percent, 0. It is now. Maybe they don't agree to that. Maybe it's 1 or 1.5. Maybe it's 1% on some things and 0 on others and 2% on other things. Who knows? But it'll be a basic agreement, and it'll be a low tariff agreement, and then they will hammer out all the details on other stuff, and the UK is going to have to agree to not ship over chlorinated chicken and stuff like that to the EU, and a few other things like that. But that's pretty much the extent of it. We're going to find out that yes, it really is Brexit, and Johnson actually did an amazingly good job with two hands tied behind his back almost in negotiating this deal, because everyone thought that the EU would not redo the withdrawal agreement. It did. Everyone thought that they would not redo the political declaration. They did that too. They did that, and now people are saying, well, they're never going to do something else. Well, excuse me, they just did two things that everyone thought that the EU would never do, and the EU itself said would never do. They did.
How do you think Britain's going to do in the long run?
I don't know how any country is going to do in the long run. It depends on their trade policies, other things. I can say that I believe they're going to do better, let's put it this way, leaving the EU than sticking in that organization, because literally it's a nightmare to get anything done there. To get consensus takes 27, it's going to be 26 now, or 28 to 27. I need to think about this. But it takes about 27 nations to agree on everything to get anything done. That's why it took 10, 12 years to get a deal between the EU and Canada, because some little country, Sweden, doesn't like some aspect of it and just holds out for 3 years. The UK is not going to be burdened by any of that when it makes treaties with other nations. That's a huge positive.
Well, I thought the thing that they wanted Britain to get rid of their double-decker buses, and there isn't one tourist that goes to London who doesn't want to ride on one. And they wanted to take away the traditional British breakfast, which may be the best meal you'll ever get during the day in London.
Well, I mean, the UK can rid itself of all these, silly, EU rules, regulations, everything. Meanwhile, it doesn't look good to me, for the EU. The infighting is still there. Italy is still a basket case. The Greens are taking over in Germany, and German industrial production is going to collapse. It's already hurting over the diesel industry, and the Greens are surging in power. That's not going to be good. None of that is going to be good long term for the EU. So meanwhile, we have problems and massive problems in China with the buildup of untenable debts from the state-owned enterprises. China is also facing a huge capital flight problem. So the whole global economy looks like it's teetering. Meanwhile, stocks are soaring. None of this makes any sense, at least to me, but it didn't make any sense to me in 2007 either. The stock market hit an all-time high in November of 2007, recession the next month. So, yet, you can't find hardly anyone that thinks that that's possible here. Again.
We'll have more with Mike Shedlock right after this.
Engineer Gold Mines is focused on the exploration and development of the historic high-grade Engineer Gold Mine situated 32 kilometers southwest of Atlin, British Columbia. Engineer Gold Mines is fully permitted for surface and underground exploration with the 2019 drill program now underway. Engineer Gold Mines Limited trades on the TSX Venture Exchange, symbol EAU. For more information, please visit us at engineergoldmines.com.
Don't miss out. Stay informed. Receive the HowStreet.com weekly recap with thought-provoking podcasts, radio, and articles delivered to your inbox. Sign up for the HowStreet.com weekly recap on our homepage at HowStreet.com.
Welcome back. We're speaking with Mish Shedlock. Mish, what do you think is going to be the big trend in the new year for people looking to invest?
They're going to be wishing that they didn't, but I would have said the same thing for the last 2 years and been very, very wrong about it. I like the chances of gold here. I think the Fed is going to be acting more to support the markets, unless, of course, they decide to hold course and make sure that Trump is not reelected. That wouldn't surprise me much at all, given the feud between Trump and the Fed. But I think in general, I don't believe Trump's going to be reelected. And right now the market is acting as if it will, because I think Trump is probably good for the market. He's gonna spend money. He's going to spend more and more and more on defense. He's going to cut taxes. All of those things are, in general, good for the markets. I think the market might even be rallying here now on a Trump victory. I think he loses, actually. He's just, and the reason is the same that hit the UK. He's so immensely unpopular. Now, his popularity ratings are about as good as they've ever been, but they're hovering around 45% or so. He beat Hillary because she was more unpopular than he was. Almost any Democrat they nominate is going to be more popular than him, unless it's specifically someone like Elizabeth Warren, who's another lightning rod like Hillary. In the absence of Elizabeth Warren or Kamala Harris, who's now dropped out, so it wouldn't be her, but in the absence of nominating someone like them, I believe the Trump is going to go down in defeat.
Industrial output in the U.S. is down. Does that matter much, considering 70% of the economy is service industry related?
Well, that's a fiction. They claim about 2/3 of the economy is consumer spending, but that's because they don't properly add up all of the intermediate goods. We manufacture raw steel. We turn that into some sort of sheet metal. We take that sheet metal and formulate it into parts. There's a whole lot of add-on steps every bit of the way in manufacturing, where people take components then and assemble them. And the only thing that gets added up is that final sale, which looks like it's, to the consumers in the form of a car. All of these intermediate steps of parts manufacturing, assembling the car, all of that stuff, none of that stuff is added up properly. So manufacturing is actually a much bigger part of the economy than people realize. Arguably, it's not as big as it used to be, but it's still much bigger than what people say.
Well, I watch those reality TV shows where they take a junky car and turn it into a swanky hot rod. So something that they bought for $1,000 goes out the door at $40,000. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of people working on it. And yeah, they have to find parts somewhere. Mm-hmm. And that stuff isn't accounted for.
That's essentially the correct idea, yes.
Mish, all the best to you and your family for the holidays.
Oh, and back at you and all of the listening audience out there, a very Merry Christmas, a happy Boxer Day, and a Happy New Year.
Well, it's Boxing Day, but you can box somebody if you want.
well,
close enough.
Okay, I think we need some more boxing, Jim. Anyway, happy holidays to everyone.
Yeah, sometimes I call it Happy Pugilist Day. Thank you very much, Mike, and have a great New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year.
My guest has been Mike Mish Shedlock, editor of Mish's Global Economic Trend Analysis on maven.net/Mish Talk. If you have any questions for Mish or any of our other guests, you can send them to info@howstreet.com Our YouTube channel is Talk Digital Network. You can find us on Twitter at House Street. We're also on Facebook. The best of the holidays to everybody. I'm Jim Goddard.
Comments made on HowStreet.com radio are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any matter whatsoever as recommendations to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Available online at TalkDigitalNetwork.com. HowStreet.com radio is a production of House Street Media Incorporated.